Today on Week in Review is a look at a recent community gathering in Terrace, a carnival in Prince Rupert saw someone die in a workplace incident, and a pipeline has made some major progress. Hello, I'm Cael Maslin, and thanks for joining us here on Week in Review, where we cover all of the news here in the Northwest from this past week. International Overdose Awareness Day was August 31st. A community gathering in Terrace put a spotlight on one of the urgent crises facing our region. Residents, families, and organizations came together at George Little Park to share stories, remember loved ones, and push for change.
Community gathered on Tuesday evening under the banner, One Big Family, a theme meant to drive home compassion and connection. Among the organizations present was Together We Can, Drug and Alcohol Recovery Education Society.
So we have some education material here on the Together We Can Drug and Alcohol Recovery and Education Society. We are currently in the process of opening up 2 sober living homes here in Terrace, a men's and a women's. Hopefully within the next couple of years, we will also be opening some primary care beds here in the north as well, meaning treatment beds. We have a bit of swag and some information about the program. And then we also have some sage and sweetgrass for giveaway, some anti-stigma stickers, some other medicine to give away. And then we also have a medicine and memory station over here where you can write your loved one's name on a heart, as well as create a prayer tie to add to the tree of prayers and well wishes. And after the event tomorrow, we are going to be doing a sweat lodge ceremony where we're going to send the prayers and memories home in a good way in the sacred fire.
With a just opened new sober living home for men right here in Terrace, a place designed to give 11 people a safe, supportive environment while transitioning from treatment back into the community.
Intakes for the men's sober living home are open now, so you can contact me through Facebook or by phone to receive an application. We currently have 10 beds available in the men's sober living home. I'm positive that now that it's known that it's open, that it will fill up quite quickly.
The society is currently calling for community support, donations of furniture, kitchenware, linens, and other essentials to help make this house a true home.
Today means a lot to me. I myself have been affected by the toxic drug crisis in many, many ways. I was once an entrenched substance user myself, and I have lost many loved ones to the toxic drug crisis. So it is a very personal matter to me. But, I feel like every day should be Overdose Awareness Day, and we all should stand together and figure out ways we can really be there to help our loved ones who are suffering in entrenched substance misuse.
With overdose deaths continuing to devastate families across Northwest, advocates say solutions must go beyond awareness toward action, housing, and ongoing support for recovery. Helena Sante, CFTK-TV News, Terrace.
It remained a somber scene at the Prince Rupert Civic Center where one person was killed last week in a workplace incident. Last Thursday afternoon, police tapes still enclosed the ride known as the Zipper as employees and security quietly looked on. Shooting Star Amusements is a company based out of Mission that operates carnivals throughout the province, with similar events last month in Kelowna, Penticton, Abbotsford, and the Bulkley Valley. Technical Safety BC, the agency that licenses amusement equipment operators in the province, said they've launched their own investigation into the circumstances of the fatality. We will be working with other agencies to determine the cause of this incident, the organization said in a statement, adding more information would be released once the inquiry is complete. Shooting Star Amusements confirmed that they'd still be coming to Terrace, however there was a change in dates, as the carnival was closed on Saturday, August 30th, but reopened Sunday and Monday. Kids recently made their return to school, and as a result, we have some reminders about staying safe around vehicles in school zones. The start of the new school year is almost here, and a frequent topic of discussion that always seems to reemerge at this time of year is safety in school zones, something that more than a few BC drivers apparently don't take as seriously as it should be, as a new ICBC survey revealed that 31% of the BC drivers that were interviewed admitted to speeding in school zones at least some of the time. The Terrace RCMP recently posted some tips on how to stay safe that are directed towards students, parents, and drivers. Drivers are advised to avoid distractions, slow down in residential areas, and watch for children, and also be aware of school buses because vehicles heading in both directions have to stop when its lights are flashing. Parents are asked to make sure that their kids know the basics of crossing the street, like stopping, looking both ways, and ensuring that there aren't any incoming vehicles or that they've stopped completely. Fines for drivers who don't abide by the speed limit of 30 kilometers per hour or other school zone rules can go up to $368. Terrace's RCMP are also said to have an increased presence in school zones soon in order to make sure that 1, the speed limit is followed, and 2, nobody gets hurt. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cael Maslin. A pipeline that has seen significant opposition has made headway in its permitting process by being granted permission to change the route in a portion of its northeastern section. CFTK-TV's Cael Maslin explains.
In another step forwards for the contentious PRGT pipeline project, the BC government has approved an amendment that requested a newer, shorter route without needing a new environmental certificate. But this shorter route includes some clauses intended to be more forgiving on the local ecosystems. The option is to reroute approximately 172 kilometers of the northeastern section of the proposed pipeline route. The change shortens it, establishing a new starting point approximately 37 kilometers west of Chetwynd and reconnecting with the approved route about 50 kilometers southwest of Mackenzie. The amendment also includes a new electric or gas-powered compressor station at the start. The EAO identified 7 key issues and effects related to the amendment application: caribou, grizzly bear, freshwater resources, air quality, vegetation, cumulative effects, and effects of PRGT on First Nations rights. The EAO says 6 conditions were added regarding caribou, grizzly bears, and cumulative effects. In his conclusion, Chief Executive Assessment Officer Alex McLennan identifies that the EAO sought consensus with 8 First Nations during the amendment process. He identifies the Salto First Nation as being in support, but he says consensus was not reached by all nations consulted. Here in the Northwest, some local nations and advocates have also loudly voiced concerns on the overall project.
Dear BC government, please come to our communities and sit down and talk with us, because we are not convinced at all that this is good for anyone, including the province, including Canada, and definitely not for the communities here. And people are rising up. There is a lot of anger, resentment, and frustration because reasonable questions have been asked and have gone unanswered for way too long. And to Minister Tamara Davidson, I think you probably want to make a better decision. I think you probably might even understand where we're coming from. So come here and sit with us and listen and see for yourself.
Following a 9-month consultation process on the changes to that section, McLennan says the amendment is approved. For CFTK-TV News in Terrace, I'm Cael Maslin.
Up next, a major discussion was held at the most recent Terrace City Council meeting. Welcome back. We now look into a major subject that was discussed in the latest Terrace City Council meeting. The most recent edition of a Terrace City Council meeting saw discussion surrounding a proposal for Pacific Northern Gas to increase their rates in their West Division that spans between Prince Rupert and Summit Lake. P&G said in a statement that the increases are an attempt to recover deferred costs while they're also being spurred on by a reduction in industrial demand and higher operating costs. Terrace City Councillor James Cordero brought up a point that helped illustrate why P&G might have seen this reduction in users.
He pointed out that the provincial government has been really pushing heat pumps across the province, which is making less and less people using the natural gas opposed to and switching over to electricity, which of course is going to, as you have less and less user, the rates are going to go up.
Terrace Mayor Sean Bouitosh also confirmed that he has heard the thoughts of local residents on the rate hikes, and they aren't exactly thrilled about it.
I've definitely had a lot of people reach out and upset and disappointed about these rate hikes, and I can't say that I blame them. It just feels like another northern tax as we continue to have to pay higher rates for things, unlike the folks in the Lower Mainland.
Bouitosh sent a letter back in June to BC Premier David Eby protesting the proposed 53% hike, and a response was recently delivered by BC Energy Minister Adrian Dix. Dix's own letter mainly explained that these rates fall under the jurisdiction of an independent agency called the BC Utilities Commission, and that these increases would have to be justified by the Commission before they could be approved. Bouitosh then said what he thought of the response letter.
It was dismissive, but I'm not surprised. Disappointing that the province doesn't look at these northern areas and make exemptions for us, knowing full well that we're going to pay higher rates comparable to folks in the south.
P&G also mentioned in their statement that they know they are responsible for efficiently managing their costs while ensuring they provide safe and reliable service to their customers, and they've encouraged anyone with questions or concerns to contact their customer care team so that they can come to the best possible solution. For CFTK-TV News, I'm Cael Maslin. A new report emerged on the Kitimat RCMP's website that chronicled what they encountered on the days that led up to the end of August. One reported incident saw the police respond to a disturbance that took place at a residence in the Nechako neighborhood. 3 people were said to have gotten into some kind of altercation, and the responding officers had to defuse the situation. After emergency health services checked out one of the people, it was discovered that the person had a warrant out for their arrest, and they were taken into custody before being released with a future court date. At the end of last week, Cael Cabs was hit by a fire on the 4400 block of Lake Else Avenue, only 5 days after 2 taxi buses at the same location were set on fire. The Terrace RCMP has said that both of those incidents are arson, with the first one resulting in 2 taxi buses being severely burnt before Terrace firefighters put it out, and the second one saw a cab get damaged significantly. The RCMP have obtained photos of potential suspects in both cases, with the one in the earlier case being believed to have potentially suffered burns, and the suspect in the newer case was described as a woman with blonde or light-colored hair, black clothes, and white shoes. Anyone with information on either case is asked to call the Terrace RCMP at 250-638-7400. Burnaby-based Interforce says weak market conditions and economic uncertainty have led the company to plan cutting lumber production by 12%. The forestry company said the production cut is expected to last until the end of the year. The cuts affect all regions of Interforce operation, including both Canada and the United States. The company says the cuts will mean reduced operating hours and extended maintenance shutdowns, as well as shift changes and prolonged holiday breaks. After the break, a petition against the Cael Maslin floating LNG terminal was dismissed. Welcome back. In another recent challenge to BC big industry, a petition against the Cael Maslin's floating LNG terminal has been dismissed. CFTK-TV's Jaylene Matthews explains further.
Not long after the PRGT pipeline project that would potentially supply the Cael Maslin terminal was challenged and the case dismissed in the BC Supreme Court, another challenge to the BC gas industry has also been dismissed. The Gatineau hereditary chiefs filed a petition to challenge the validity of the environmental assessment of the Cael Maslin project due to lack of consultation and environmental concerns. Although the project wouldn't run directly in their territory, the Gatineau territory encompasses large sections of Nass and Skeena watersheds. Cael Maslin, a Niska-owned floating LNG project, means from the Nass in the Niska language. In filing the legal proceedings, the Gitniao Laksiep cited grave concerns over threats to salmon populations, escalating climate risks, and inadequate consultation.
Regarding the Xelism's LNG terminal and the scope of consultation and the very premature determination that the Provincial Environmental Assessment Office has made, saying that there will be no impacts to juvenile salmon regardless of where they originate from, regardless if they originate in Gitniao territory or Gitxsan or Nisga'a territory, and that consultation is only with those nations who they have determined to be a participating Indigenous nation. And so for over a year, Gitniao has called to broaden the scope of this consultation to include Gitniao because our fish will be affected.
They cite that the Nass River flowing through the Gitniao Laksiep before entering Nisga'a territory and emptying into the Portland Canal is the lifeblood of the Gitniao. The application for judicial review was filed in BC Supreme Court in Vancouver on October 25th, 2024. The Environmental Assessment Office maintained throughout the following proceedings that there was no information to suggest that effects in the project area will result in impacts to Gitniao fisheries, and that the possible impacts listed by the Gitniao and backed by Skeena Wild's Dr. Michael Price were, quote, speculative. The EAO and the province also maintained that there was no duty to consult due to the negation of direct impacts to Gitniao territory. The Honourable Justice Waitley dismissed the petition on August 29th. For CFTK-TV News in Terrace, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
Terrace's fire chief recently sent out a statement that addressed the pair of arson attacks directed at a local cab company. Cael Cab saw some of their vehicles intentionally set on fire on both August 24th and 29th, with the Terrace Fire Department responding to both incidents. Joel Broson's statement emphasized how dangerous committing an act like this is, especially when done near public spaces, homes, and businesses. He also encouraged residents to report any suspicious activity they see without hesitation, and thanks the people who first reported the fires. People living in Masset on Haida Gwaii say one man is terrorizing their small town and claim authorities aren't doing enough to stop him. As CTV's Kevin Chirac reports, a hereditary chief is speaking out after he and his son were attacked with a large axe.
My son was just millimeters away from having his brains bashed in.
Darren Swanson recalls the horrifying scene Thursday night in Masset.
This is a splitting mall.
When he says a neighbor with a history of trouble attacked him and his son.
He swung at me twice and missed. And then on the third try, when he was reloading, my son tackled him from behind and threw him to the ground, and we both sat on him until the police came.
The weapon grazed his son's face. The man was arrested, but residents say he's been terrorizing the town for years.
We've had interactions with him going back, I think, 5 years now.
This couple says they've been threatened in the past and went to police just days before the attack.
I'm a wreck nonstop. And I don't know if you're going to put this out there or not, but we have protection nonstop for over the last 5 years.
I look over my shoulder in my own yard.
The man faced multiple charges in recent years, including uttering threats, breaching probation, and assault. We are not naming him because he has not been charged in this case. In a statement to CTV News, RCMP said, "We will relentlessly pursue those who hinder safety in our community. We ask all those who are witness or are a victim of a crime to report it." RCMP say they'll be recommending multiple charges, but for now, the man's been released on strict conditions. What those are is unclear, and that's left Swanson and others on edge.
Is this guy going to sneak out and try to burn my house down? Who knows? Definitely mentally unstable, this person. I've actually bought shotguns to keep nearby.
What concerns me is the fact that he's done this again, and he has been released on strict conditions, which mean nothing because he doesn't follow them, and there's no repercussions for not following them.
Swanson has escalated the issue to Crown Council and local government leaders demanding justice.
It's really frustrating to live in a society like this.
RCMP denied our request for an interview. The suspect is due in court next month. Kevin Chirac, CTV News.
High temperatures in BC have led to a number of records being broken as smoky conditions persist across the province. Environment Canada says Cache Creek reported a high of 40.8 degrees on Wednesday, a day after Lytton matched a Canadian record all-time high for September of 40 degrees. Local daily high temperature records were also broken in a number of other BC communities like Kelowna, Kamloops, and Cranbrook. Still to come, the North Coast got covered by an air quality warning. Welcome back. The BC government's air quality warnings that covered a lot of the province recently included the North Coast inland sections as well. The warnings were put into place mainly due to an abundance of wildfires and the smoke that they produced. The North Coast warning was confirmed by an online map that highlights every area most likely to be affected by wildfire smoke within the next 24 to 48 hours. And each active warning can also be seen on the air quality warning section of the BC provincial government's website. The Smithers RCMP recently disclosed on their website that they executed a search warrant at a residence in the Hudson Bay Mobile Home Park during the waning days of August. The officers conducting the search ended up discovering and seizing various firearms and ammunition. The RCMP clarified that despite the presence of the firearms, this search was managed as a non-active threat, meaning that the public was not in danger even with the risk factors being present. An individual that may have witnessed an incident prior to the search warrant's execution is also being asked to contact the Smithers RCMP at 250-847-3233 so that they can speak to them. Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre is calling for an end to the temporary foreign workers program. And as CTV's Martin McMahon reports, that has prompted a debate in this province over the program and its future here.
The principle is very simple. Canadian jobs for Canadian workers.
Claiming temporary foreign workers are making it hard for young people to find work, a call from Conservative leader Pierre Poilievre to scrap the program.
And to stop issuing visas for any new temporary foreign workers coming into the country.
But multiple sectors, including the restaurant and hotel industries, are heavily reliant on temporary foreign workers, and they argue Canadians simply aren't applying for many of the positions in those areas.
A really bad policy on his part. He doesn't understand the industry. We are 20,000 people short in our industry in cooks and chefs, and there's not a hope that we have enough domestic population to satisfy that from today and years to come.
I take no issue with adjusting the levels of temporary foreign workers, changing some of the program constraints. But to suggest that we end the program is completely divorced from what's happening in the labor market across the country.
Smaller communities in BC like Terrace struggle to attract workers and are pushing back.
We here in Northwest BC, Terrace, Prince Rupert, Kitimat, believe these cuts, and if the program were to be eliminated, would disproportionately hurt rural British Columbia, and especially our little corner.
But Poilievre's proposal has supporters as well, from those who believe the program pushes down wages for everyone.
Wages is number one. Wages need to come to the forefront. I mean, whether we cancel this or not, a Liberal or a Conservative government or even an NDP government, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Ottawa's known about this for 15 years. All parties has been their dirty little secret.
While Cabinet is discussing the program, the Prime Minister has so far indicated he has no plans to end it. Martin McMahon, CTV News, Vancouver.
That wraps up this week's edition of Week in Review. Make sure to tune in to our regular newscasts on Monday at 5, 6, 6:30, and 11 o'clock here on CFTK-TV. Thanks for tuning in and have a good weekend.